Is the world out there just driving you crazy? Well, listen to something just a little bit less crazy. This is Mike Dell's World.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Episode 346 on a Sunday morning, and doing this somewhat live. I have Sean in here. Hello, Sean.
Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Yeah, how's the bunkering going in the state of California?
It's fine. Honestly, for me, on my day-to-day life, really not much has changed.
Yeah, it's the same here. Work from home, wife's home, everybody's home, and we venture out to go out and kill something and drag it home. I mean, get supplies, and that's about it here. But I had a couple things I wanted to talk about, and like I said, I got a Zoom meeting going here live, and put it out on Facebook. Of course, short notice, so not a lot of people showed up. Thanks for showing up, Sean. But
yeah,
it's kind of interesting, the interesting times we live in. The old Chinese curse.
right.
You live in interesting times, and that's kind of pathetic, or is that the right word? That this came from China originally. So crazy stuff. But anyway, our Todd, I don't know if you know Todd. You know Todd, of course. You work for him too.
I do, yeah.
But Todd, he does Geek News Central. He's also the CEO of Raw Voice and Blueberry, hence mine and Sean's boss. But anyway, he talked to a truck driver the other day, and he brought up something that was kind of on my mind too. What about these truck drivers? They're going to have a hard time finding something to eat out on the road, because they can't drive those things through a drive-through, and they can't walk up to most drive-throughs, and a lot of the restaurants are doing takeout, but not all of them. And even if there are restaurants that do takeout, they may not have a place to to park a truck that size. Geez, English optional today. But something to think about. What do we do about that? Is there, some people out there maybe willing to help out the drivers, or if you own a restaurant, maybe, let them call in and order something and then have it bring it to. Geez, I got some noise going on in the background. I left my ham radios turned up. But, oh well. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of ham radio work too, by the way. It's
cool.
Interesting stuff, that more and more people are getting on that. But so what do you think of the truck thing? You don't think about that, but, there are supply line. Pretty much everything you have in your house is, at one point been on a truck.
Yeah, it seems like at a time when we're talking about essential services, it might be the most essential service in some ways. But Todd has a good point, and I'm thinking about just how things are happening in my own town here. I live in a strange little town in California where as sometime before I moved out here, I don't know how long ago it was, they actually banned drive-throughs. So there's no drive-throughs inside the city limits.
Wow.
So, even before shelter at home and everything, that wasn't really an option. So most of the restaurants out here, even the fast food places, had really converted to a carry-out model for people that wanted food to go. But one thing that I've noticed is that in some cases, some of the more local kind of independent shops and stuff they're just closing. I went for a walk yesterday, and I was just seeing, what's open, what's got signs up and stuff. And I went by a coffee shop that's right on kind of the main drag here. And they just had a sign up that said, we're closed till further notice. We'll hopefully be back when this whole thing is done. Regardless, I like the idea for, hey, phone ahead. Out here, in fact, in the downtown area where parking is notoriously difficult, the city has kind of put in a reprieve for just parking on the curb. And a lot of the restaurants that are open have these special signs out front that say, hey, 10-minute parking for, picking up food. And a lot of restaurants, if you pay ahead with a credit card, they'll do a curbside delivery. But I think one of the challenges in particular the truckers might have is, you are going to be on the road for such a long time. And then who knows where, the next town that you're able to stop at, who knows what might even be open. And then really how accessible is it by a truck? And obviously when everything's open, that stuff becomes at least slightly easier. But another thing too, I was thinking of was a lot of places that do have drive-ups, they get snippy if you walk up to them. Years ago, I when I was still living in Illinois, I did that at a McDonald's. They had closed their dining room early because it was kind of a combo McDonald's gas station, and they had closed their dining room early. And, I don't drive. So I just walked around to the drive-thru, and the guy was like, hey, you got to be in a car. I said, well, I don't have a car. Your dining room's closed. And, he did actually sell me some food. But I'm sure there's some places that are, going to enforce that kind of thing and be like, zero tolerance about it and still not serve you, even if you are a truck driver and, you can't pull your rig through, obviously, a drive-through.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hope they relax that a little bit for sure. I know around here, all of them say, you can't walk up to the drive-through, and it's mainly for safety, because there's cars running around, and people walking and cars in the same space are generally not a good idea. So, but hopefully they'll make some sort of some sort of exception to that. And Todd had a good idea, get some food trucks to go out to, like the Walmart parking lot or whatever. Cause I know Walmart, most of them allow truck parking, overnight, and, like Home Depot and, I think, Cracker Barrel's pretty, they've got RV parking in the back, usually of most of their stores, or most of their, I guess their stores and restaurants, but, I'm pretty sure they allow overnight parking for trucks, and imagine they have carry out at those if they're still open. Who knows? I know all the pizza drivers are busy as hell, and Uber Eats and that kind of thing. What's that other one? There's another one that's like Uber that does.
There's DoorDash, Grubhub, and Postmates. There's tons of these things now.
Right. So I imagine if a driver could get parked and then, get on the app and probably find something locally that'll deliver to the truck. But, that is a problem. And then even finding parking is a problem in some places. I heard the state of Pennsylvania, for whatever stupid reason, is banning truck parking in the rest areas. I mean, that's where the trucks go. That's where they're supposed to be allowed.
Absurd.
And why would they do that? It's it's just not cool. I listened to a show. What is the company? I forget. It's PRX's independent podcast network. I'm drawing a blank, but same one that Roman Mars is on. Anyway, they've got a special series going right now from Overdrive Magazine, which is a trucking magazine. And it's some truck driver, and they just highly produced, but it's pretty cool. And anyway, he did a quick update, which was not highly produced, which I thought was refreshing. That he's doing fine. He's a driver that hauls a refrigerated trailer and is hauling dairy products. And he says, as far as he's concerned, nothing much has changed except for some of the docks that had a driver lounge and bathrooms and stuff have closed those, but for the most part, he said the rest of it's pretty much the same as it ever was, and a lot less traffic on the road. So he's actually digging it for that. But it's kind of an interesting series they got going over there. And if I had my phone real handy, I could tell you what the name of it was. But anyway, if you listen to Roman Mars' show, and like I said, I'm drawing blanks today for some reason. But listen to his show. He promotes it quite heavily. So it's an interesting show. But, you don't think about that stuff until the supply chain gets a little challenging, like it has been. And I don't know how challenging the actual supply chain is. I think the main problem is people hoarding stuff, as we talked about before in my last episode, hoarding toilet paper for whatever reason. There's no supply chain problem with toilet paper other than the demand went crazy. We have a paper plant 100 or so miles north of me, and they're running double production right now, and there's plenty of it coming out. So and a lot of the grocery stores, we have several over 24-hour grocery chains up here, like Meijer's. I don't know if you guys don't have that out west, but Meijer Thrifty Acres used to be called, not to be confused with Fred Meyer's stores, which are out west, but similar type of store like a Walmart. And they were 24 hours. They now close at, I think, 10 o'clock at night. And they stay closed overnight to restock the shelves because people are coming in and hoarding stuff. It's really quite something to see. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
Yeah, not me either. I mean, it's definitely been strange. I went into a grocery store. We're recording this on Sunday, so it was last Thursday afternoon, and kind of the way this whole shelter at home thing went here where I'm at is starting that day, Thursday at 5 p.m. was when our county shelter at home order went into place. And then about an hour after that, the statewide shelter at home order came down. So I went out to just pick up a few things. Honestly, it wasn't anything really even that important. And I went to the Vons grocery store, and it wasn't that bad in there. And generally speaking, while it was busy, and some people were kind of harried and rushed, for the most part, people were behaving, and everything was kind of fine. But I was surprised in some ways at what had been completely wiped out and what was still there. And one of the things that surprised me was all of the alternative milks. So the soy, the almond, the coconut, etc. milks were all completely gone, but there was plenty of dairy milk. And I mentioned that only because I was talking to my mom, who lives in the next town north of me. And she said that their local store had no dairy milk. And I was just thinking that, I don't know if that's a California thing to.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe your area has a lot of health conscious people or that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. But then also somebody pointed out that, those are shelf stable longer. So it's possible that people were thinking that way. I really don't think that's the case, but it was an interesting idea.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Obviously all of the paper products were gone. And, it seemed like, and one thing I noticed is they have a seafood department in the back, and that was just completely gone. It was just completely empty. They had it shut down. There were still some meat products out there, but people were picking those up pretty quickly. I mean, it seemed like most product categories, there was probably something, but if you were like really super brand specific, you might not get the brand you wanted. But like if you wanted cereal, you might not be able to get Post Raisin Bran, but there was probably an alternative Raisin Bran that you could get. So, I looked in the frozen aisle, and like a lot of the pizzas were gone, but there was still some left. So it wasn't a total disaster, but it was very strange. And it was kind of the first time in all of this that I got like the slightest pang of anxiety about, well, maybe this is a little, I don't want to say worse, but a little more real than maybe I had realized before. I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed that. I go to this local grocery store that's, half a mile away. I can walk over there if I want to. I don't generally, but I can. And the thing was that, of course, the paper aisle is completely, empty. And one thing I noticed was eggs. There was not an egg to be had in the place. And I thought that was a bit strange. But for the most part, everything else was, available. As you said, like, some of the brand name ones were gone. But, I had no problem getting SkettyOs, which is my favorite comfort food for, hunkering down. But, it didn't seem terrible. We didn't have any trouble. Oh, I went there one time and the bread was all gone. But then the next time I went there, it was fine. And there was plenty. And, it's, everybody has their own level of comfort. I think that's the whole toilet paper thing. I just think that, that's just something that everybody feels comfortable about, wanting to stock up on, and that's great. But, it's a bit weird. But hopefully this doesn't last too long, and some of these local restaurants can hack through it. My wife ran a bagel shop here in town, and she's been off work for a few months now for back injury or back surgery. But that bagel shop, they're doing fine, doing carry out, or not even carry out. They have them phone in the order from, out in the parking lot. They'll order whatever, and then people bring it out to the car for them, and works out fine. Plus, their wholesale business is still doing pretty good. They supply the local hospital with bagels, and that's a booming business these days at the hospital. So some of them are going to be fine, some of them are really hurting, that's for sure. And the Michigan governor here has put out a whole bunch of executive orders under the state of emergency. So far we're not shelter in place yet, but effectively that's what's going on. But they've been having a lot of that kind of thing come out of the governor's office. And one of the things they're doing, and I think this may be nationwide now, but specifically people displaced by the governor's order, they're waiving a lot of the requirements to get on unemployment. So it happens real quick. My niece, who's normally a bartender at an Olive Garden, she got laid off, of course, and she got got online, and, it was a little bit of a adventure getting signed up, but she got on unemployment, so she'll be okay for the time being. And yeah, it's rough out there for some of us. Luckily, the business that you and I are in doesn't seem to be overly affected yet, so we'll see how that goes in the future. But hopefully, this doesn't last too awful long.
Yeah, the estimates right now, I don't even know if there's any reason to even consider it, because I'm kind of seeing anywhere between 2 weeks to 2 months, and I've seen some estimations that go even longer than that. So it's almost like we're really all just living one day at a time out here, waiting to see what happens next. And I heard a pretty good explanation from someone who's educated, I guess, in the ways of business, and he was saying that probably what's going to happen is the really small businesses, so the truly independent kind of mom and pop restaurants and stuff, they're probably going to make it through, but the ones that are going to struggle is probably more like the mid-size regional chains, where they're probably, their margins are probably a lot tighter. They're the ones that may wind up having to either close entirely or severely cut back by the time all this is done. I've got a friend who works at a food service place, actually the kind of place that I imagine a lot of truckers might stop at in Indiana. And he got a furlough notice, I think yesterday or the day before. And, so he's kind of weighing his options. I told him, I said, go file for unemployment. But he said he heard that there was a temp job available that at another place he might take. So, he'll figure that out for himself. But I know right now, if anybody is affected by, if their job is directly affected by this whole thing, then they're going to have, a fairly easy time filing, as easy as it can be. And,
Sure.
I've dealt with unemployment twice over the last 10 years, and it can be a bit of a pain.
Oh yeah, I spent a little time with that system back in 2011. I kind of had a delayed reaction to the crash in 2008, and the print shop that I was working for, kind of limped along for a while, and then had to bail on a bunch of stuff, and I was out for probably 3 months. Anyway, I always find something to do, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, I get it. One place that those of you that are displaced, most of the grocery chains are really hurting for stock people at night. So, that's a place to go look. I know 2 of the local chains around here, they're just kind of regional, 4 or 5 stores. They've been begging for help with stocking overnight, just because of, everybody's running on stuff. And, I don't know how long those temp jobs would last, but something to do and, keeps you busy, and, you're pretty much working, I wouldn't say alone, but you can keep your social distance and all that doing night stock. But anyway, yeah, it's something else for sure. Like I said, we've been doing all right here. Like I said, no big change with my lifestyle and the wife's lifestyle. One thing I am disappointed about is NASCAR. Darn it, they're not running the races. Of course, none of the other sports are running right now either. But today at 1:30, so I can't make this too long of an episode because I want to get up and watch that. But on Fox Sports Network, they're going to run the first NASCAR race. They're all doing it virtually with I think it's called iRace, which is a racing simulator. And they're actually going to run the race with the drivers that would have driven the race today in Homestead, Miami, and they're going to run it on the virtual Homestead, Miami track, and they're going to have their broadcast crew from Fox call the race. So it'll be just like, it'll be right on TV, just like if it was a real race. So that ought to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it's a cool idea. It'll be interesting to see what it actually looks like. A lot of those racing games, they have a lot of the, and this is more like an actual simulator versus say something you'd play on an Xbox, I assume.
Yeah, it's a sim. I forget what what it runs on. Probably PC or Mac or both.
But a lot of those types of things, they have all of the different camera angles and stuff. It's crazy how complex they can be in terms of the visuals. So they'll, depending on if the, producers of the broadcast have the ability to control those cameras, they can do probably something that's very similar to an actual race in terms of the presentation.
Yeah, I would hope so. I'm looking forward to checking it out. I don't have cable here anymore, but I do have access to the Fox Sports app, and that'll run there as well because it's going to be on their FS1 network, which will be interesting. Of course, we'll see. I guess they could probably do that with any sport now. You've got these great games that can be broadcast, and, a lot of people watch sports. Sorry if you hear the dogs in the background. Apparently they're having some sort of disagreement upstairs. the wife will take care of that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Probably by the time you hear this, it'll be over. But maybe they'll do that until this whole thing's over. They'll run a few virtual races, and I think this E-Race or iRace or whatever game they're using, I think it has all the regular NASCAR tracks and all the cars. So, each of the drivers can have a car that matches what they would have driven otherwise. And I'm sure the programmers for those games are probably working diligently to make that happen if it isn't. So,
yeah.
It'll be fun. I'm a NASCAR fan, and I wonder if any of these will count for points for the championship. Probably not. But
I doubt it. I think it would be cool if they did, but I doubt it.
Yeah, well, they're calling it. I forget now. Let me bring it up here. NASCAR.com, and Power Rankings Race 1, Homestead, Miami. It's called the Pro Series Invitational, so it is going to be a series, and they did a qualifying race. So they're having drivers from all the different NASCAR series. So it's not going to be just the Cup Series. It's going to be the what do they call it? They always change it every year, but I guess now it's called the Xfinity Series. Is sort of the minor leagues. And then they have a Truck Series, and they're going to have a few others in there, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., who retired, but he's coming back to race this virtual series, so that'll be fun. Anyway, I'm sure not all of you guys are NASCAR fans, but it is interesting to see that at least they're going to put something on TV. Got to give those sports networks something to show.
Yeah. I was picking up some food the other day when I was out, and while I was waiting, one of the TVs had one of the sports networks on, and they were showing a baseball game from 1979. So it kind of shows you that, they're digging deep right now to put stuff on the air.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh geez. And even on the NASCAR site, it's pretty funny. They actually, NASCAR, then, some Sheehan crashes into pit road, during the qualifying. So, they're even doing, what they would have done for the regular NASCAR series. So they're doing pre-races and practices and whatnot. Criminy. That's funny. That'll be fun to see. And what may happen is this may become something that they televise more often, or might be an ongoing thing even after this whole crisis ends, because esports is a big thing. There's people that, I forget what's that streaming service that is pretty famous for video gamers. Twitch, yeah. So on Twitch, there's people playing video games all the time. Why not do that with sports as well? So anyway, I guess enough for the doom and gloom, but hopefully this will blow over. I'm confident that that this is helping somewhat, as long as everybody follows the rules and wash your hands, all that good stuff. We did have a bunch of PSAs that we put out over at Blueberry. So if you're a podcaster and want to run some of those, go for it. I don't know if I have one queued up or if this is something completely different, so I'm not going to push the button. But
good plan.
Yeah, never know what I've got here in the Roadcaster. Here we go. I do have a PSA on Bank 2. Give me a second here. We'll run one of those. Bank 2. All right, let's see if I got the right one, hopefully.
COVID-19, better known as coronavirus, has spread throughout the world. Information about children with this disease is limited, but they are known to have had mild symptoms. Many organizations are responding accordingly depending upon their area. It's best to stay home and away from others, especially when sick, and continue following healthy hand wash guidelines, covering mouth and nose and not touching your face or high-touch surfaces. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly, and for more information, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you.
And that was done by the Blueberry Pro production team. So anyway, and So let's see. On other news, personally around here, my 92-year-old grandmother woke up this morning with a nosebleed. Apparently she's okay. My mom just texted and said that they picked her up at the ER. The hospital here won't allow any visitors in, even in the emergency room. So she had to drop her off and then go pick her up. But she's doing good. So, yeehaw. When you're 92, I guess every little thing is something else. But kind of worries me, going into a hospital now, because that's where people are going to go if they're having symptoms. Now, luckily up here, we've only had a couple of confirmed cases, and they were all from international travel. So hopefully it doesn't spread too much around here, and being up here in the woods, we're a little isolated from the rest of the world sometimes.
Yeah, Mike, you're automatically socially distanced.
Yeah, well,
by
that's
default.
that's kind of my nature anyway too. So we have a lot of tourists up here in the summer, so we do get a lot of traffic in and out of here. But that's one thing I've noticed out in front of my house. I'm on a 5-lane road that. It's generally pretty busy sometimes, and looking at my security camera right now, and usually on a Sunday, there'd be a lot of traffic going by, and it's probably about half what it normally is as far as, just people out moving around. I'm probably going to, later this afternoon after the NASCAR e-race, probably load the beagles in the van and go drive around a little bit just to get out of the house. But don't plan on stopping anywhere. Kathy actually just took off. My wife just took off to head down to the grocery store to get a couple of things. And, of course she'll come back and, disinfect from head to toe. But yeah. I did notice at the grocery store when I went in there a couple days ago, all the employees were wearing rubber gloves, and every time somebody check out, they'd wipe everything down before the next person, and they were being very very proactive in keeping things clean. The little credit card machine and everything, they would clean that between uses, and so they had hand sanitizer at the door and at the cash registers and stuff. So it's been good. I want to run around wearing a mask or anything, but I think mainly you should wear a mask if you're sick. If you're feeling, even if you just got a cold or something, wear the mask. Right. But otherwise, I don't think wearing a mask helps you much as far as, somebody that's not sick. But I don't know. I have no facts.
Yeah, I've heard some mixed reports on that. In some cases, I heard someone say who does have some standing in this said that it's one of those things where, well, if you've got one, it won't hurt to wear it. But I'm kind of with you that unless you're, actively sick already or having some kind of symptoms, I wouldn't really bother with it. But, if it makes people feel better. I mean, right now, of course, with, there being shortages on so many things, I feel like if you've got if you're sitting on a whole stash of those, specifically the N95 masks, I've got a bunch of just dust masks for, doing cleaning around the house and stuff. I don't think it's the same thing. But the N95s, if, for whatever reason, if you're, sitting on a couple gross worth of those, you should just go give them to your local hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Something that's been happening around here is people have been stealing stuff from the hospitals, the masks and the sanitizer, which is, just insane. So, don't do that, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, just stay home, stay away from people, as the PSA said, and just let it blow over. That's the key to stopping this is to, get people to follow the rules. I know, it goes against the American way though, everybody thinks freedom, we can do what we want. And yeah, you can, but this bug doesn't care about that. And, they just had a resurgence in Italy. So it sounds like, that once it takes hold, it's kind of hard to squash. But I'm hoping that it acts sort of like the flu does, and once the sun's out and everybody gets outside and all that it'll just naturally go away for a while and hopefully stay away. But yeah, whatever. I don't know anything about the virology other than what I've been hearing, and you never know who to listen to either. There's a lot of opinions out there that get passed off as facts, and it's just crazy. You can't really trust anybody that you hear, especially on Facebook. I always found that was funny that a lot of my Facebook friends were constitutional scholars up until this happened. Now they're virus specialists.
Yeah, that's funny. And yeah, that's something you see on social media. You just got to be careful. And I really think the best thing for everybody is, regardless of what the actual state of where you live is, because obviously, like I'm in California, we're statewide shelter at home. Not everybody's at that level yet, but really the best thing is just, stay home as much as possible. Don't congregate with people, only go out for essential stuff, things like that.
Yeah. We're going to try something, I don't know, later this week. Some friends of ours and I, we get together and play euchre. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that game. That's kind of a Michigan thing.
No.
But we're going to do an online euchre tournament together. So instead of doing it in person. So like I said, everybody needs to stay, just stay safe, hang out. This will blow over, hopefully. And, we'll get back to somewhat normal life, although I think it's going to change stuff. I really do. I think this work at home thing is going to become way bigger, even in normal times, because we've proven that a lot of people can work from home now that before they oh no, we can't do that, well, our whole team is now work at home. Half of it was anyway, but the rest of the team, and they seem to be doing all right with it. We'll see if productivity goes up or down, but even on the Today Show, I kind of flipped through that the other day, and Savannah Guthrie's working from home. She's, of course, they probably set her up with a camera crew, or at least all the equipment that she needed to do broadcast quality stuff. But they're having the same issues that the podcasters have been having for years. So we're kind of used to it. So
I hope you're going to tell me, Mike, that she's not, her audio is not coming through a webcam microphone.
No. She's definitely, if she didn't tell you she was working at home, you'd think she was in a studio somewhere. So they probably built her the equivalent there. But they're quote unquote professionals. So but yeah, we'll see. And I don't know if she's at home in Scottsdale, Arizona, where she has her, that's where she's originally from, or if she's still in New York somewhere. But it was interesting. The other one, I don't even remember, the Hoda Coffee, I guess, is her co-host. She was in the studio in New York. So, not everybody's working from home. But that just proves that you can work from home doing just about anything, other than, hands-on production work or whatever. But, a lot of these jobs now are such that you can do that. Us in tech support, of course, we do that anyway. And most of the developers at Blueberry, all they need is a computer and an internet connection. They're good. And I think there's a lot of jobs like that. Not everything, of course. You can't can't make bagels virtually. But
yeah, I've seen some funny memes people have posted for jobs where there's no way to do it from home. So there was like an aircraft mechanic, and somebody had done a Photoshop of the front landing gear of a jumbo jet coming through the roof, like, hey, I'm working from home too. Like, no, it doesn't really work for that kind of thing. Or obviously, bus drivers or delivery drivers. I mean, that's pretty much the antithesis of being in one place at one time. But if you are doing computer-based work, and, you know, whatever that work is, whether that's like what you and I do as far as the support work, or if you are, you know, tunneling in to be a co-host on a nationwide TV show, if you've got the bandwidth, then there's really no difference being at home or being at headquarters.
Right. For sure. You know, I guess the only lifestyle change I've had is, you know, I had some scheduled trips to go on, you know, for work, and those have been canceled. But other than that, you know, I'm just same old here. And actually, I kind of find it nice because I actually get to see the rest of the team more than I did normally. You know, like, you know, we have those daily meetings now that we never had before, and, you know, get to interact with people actually more, even though we're not in the same room or even in the same state. You know, that's something. What was I going to say? I just had a thought and it went away. I hate when that happens.
Well, I even managed to make one of those meetings last week, so
you got out
that
of bed
was
early.
cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good, and good to have you in there for sure. I have several friends that are airline pilots, for various airlines, and it's amazing the difference between the passenger airlines and the cargo airlines. I've got one friend that flies for UPS, and she's getting all the overtime she wants. She said I made more money this week than I do in a whole month. You know, she's been picking up trips, and then another friend of mine flies a rather elderly aircraft that was fixing to be retired in a couple of years anyway. The old MD-80s, MD-90s, which is kind of a DC-9 derivative, and the airline he works for, based in Atlanta, he calls it Acme, but I think it's Delta. Anyway, Delta came out with a thing that they're going to park all those early. So he's got to go into training to learn a new jet. He's senior enough that he's not going to get laid off or furloughed, but he's got to go into training to learn a new jet all of a sudden, you know, kind of unceremoniously retiring his fleet, although he'll probably get to fly a lot of those to the boneyard. And then he'll probably go into training for some other jet. I haven't heard which one he's going to, but you know, that kind of thing. And then I have another friend that flies for Atlas, which is a big contract carrier for the military, and they do a lot of cargo. And he was a 747 first officer, and just before all this hit, he went into training to become a 767 captain. And he finished training, and they're busy as all get out, too, both military flights for passengers and, you know, cargo. And he just started flying the line again, and he's doing all right. So, you know, it's highly variable. You know, there was a big pilot shortage just before all this, and like I said, Delta's down about 40% in their flights worldwide, and you know, domestically not as much. But like I said, they retired that whole fleet of, you know, some 200 airplanes, and, you know, I don't know how many pilots, but you know, that's another thing, you know, you can't do from home. I guess maybe you could. They got technology. You could, you know, do virtual piloting, but I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little while before
I hope so.
We'll be able to treat passenger jets as you know. Well, I guess they wouldn't technically be UAVs because there would be people on them, but you know, before we're going to let you know, a jet full of people be piloted from the ground.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Probably not in my lifetime anyway. But you never know. You know, they're getting good with that.
Yeah.
You know, those airplanes, they, you know, even the old MD-80s, you know, last one was built sometime in the early 90s. And, you know, they've been flying pretty much constantly since then. So they got a lot of hours on them. But those even have auto land. You know, they do what's called a I forget, category 2, maybe. I forget what they call it, but they can, in bad weather, they can fly right down and the thing lands itself. It's not as smooth as if a human pilot does it, but if you can't see anything, you can't really land. But these things can go down to zero visibility and land, on their own. And this is old technology. Imagine what the new ones can do.
Yeah.
I know in general aviation, the private pilots and corporate aviation, Garmin, the GPS manufacturer, came out with an emergency auto land system for civilian private aircraft, and they've been testing it, and it'll even contact air traffic control and declare an emergency, pick an airport, and can interact with air traffic control somewhat. And it's pretty amazing. I saw a YouTube video of them demoing that, and it'll say the pilot, what happens in Payne Stewart for the golfer. It's a famous case of this where the window blew out at 40,000 feet, and everybody, of course, went to sleep immediately. And this thing was on autopilot and ended up flying for a couple hours up into North Dakota before it crashed. And, there's no way to revive them. And so what this thing does is it can detect if something like that happens, and it'll automatically go into auto land mode, drop altitude, and find an airport and land. And that might have saved those people. So, the technology's there. I don't know how honed it is, but this thing looked impressive on the YouTube video.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm glad that, that kind of thing exists, because especially in a case like the one you just mentioned, because the likelihood is if the aircraft could have landed safely, that most of the people on board probably would have survived. And that's just one of those total freak things that you would never think would ever happen. So it's good that that kind of technology is being developed and hopefully deployed more. I mean, it'll lessen the chance that we'll have one of those dramatic moments where, some person who's a passenger with, 20 hours of experience on a flight simulator gets to land a jumbo jet because all the flight crew for some reason has been knocked out. But that's okay. If I was on a plane and I had the scenario of, me having to land it versus the computer, I'll let the computer do it.
Yeah. Well, on these Garmin systems, there's, basically say, if you and I were going to go flying, I would say, okay, if something happens to me, press this red button, and show you the red button. And basically, the passenger can initiate an auto land if something happens to the pilot. And I can't imagine they won't do something like that in an airliner at some point in the future, especially, they've been trying to, with this pilot shortage up until now, they've been trying to get it to where only one pilot has to be in the cockpit, in the airliners. They've been, trying that for years, because right now they have to have minimum of 2, and on longer flights, even more crew members available to fly the plane. And now, that could open the doors to a single pilot operation in the airlines. I kind of don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, just because of the pilots unions and stuff. That's kind of a job killer. But and on top of that, the first officers, the co-pilot, as some people would call it, they're fully qualified pilots. They're just lower time, they haven't had quite as much experience, and that's how they get experiences. I don't know if you're familiar with how that usually works, but usually the first officer and the captain trade off flying legs of the trip. So, say you've got 4 hops that day, the pilot or the captain will take 2 of those legs, and the first officer will take 2. And, they call it pilot flying and pilot monitoring. And, usually the one that's monitoring takes care of the radios and, that kind of thing. And, that's just generally how they do it. And, so that would be hard to get qualified pilots to get enough experience if they don't have 2 of them in the cockpit. So there's a lot of arguing going on in that world about single pilot operation. But as this technology gets better and better, that may be possible.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think we're going to just see more and more of as time goes on, where if the technology is proven and it can replace, even one person, then the likelihood is that eventually that's what's going to happen. And, the merits of that can kind of be debated endlessly. I know as a person, I would definitely feel better to have 2 qualified pilots than 1 qualified pilot plus a proven emergency landing system, because obviously anything can go wrong. And if you do enough research into, airplane crashes, you'll find that most of them are determined to be pilot error anyway. So even having two qualified pilots is not a guarantee of a safe landing in the case of an emergency. But I think it's just one example of a wider story that we're going to see take place over the coming decade about how, technology is going to be replacing people in a lot of different industries and in places that we probably wouldn't have even thought about, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's for sure. So anyway, I suppose we ought to wrap this up so I can get this posted and go watch the video game race. So, well, thanks for being on, Sean. I kind of did this short notice, and so we didn't get any other takers jumping in here, but I think I want to do this maybe a little more often, go live and just see who shows up. So, it's kind of still sort of early out there, isn't it? What about 10 in the morning or something?
Right, yeah.
Okay, very good. And we're about 1:03 here. So anyway, so Sean, I guess people probably don't know who you are that listen to me. So give us the 411 there, how people can get a hold of you and listen to your podcasts.
Well, the best thing to do is just go to my website, which is my first name, Sean, SHAWN.MX. And everything's there. I've got 2 podcasts there that are really just kind of new, but you can subscribe to them if you want. Or I've got a blog. It's it's just my personal stuff. So not necessarily that exciting, but it's all there if anybody wants to find it. And I've got links to
very much like this one
there. So yeah.
Yeah, this is just my personal stuff usually, but it was great having a discussion with you there. We covered a lot of topics there. So I was going to play a bunch of stupid comedy music, but I think I won't. So everybody have a good however long it is till I do it again. I guess lately it's been Sundays I've been putting out episodes. I won't commit to that, but I'm the king of inconsistency. But you can also find me over at podcastinsider.com, which is really a subsite at blueberry.com. It's our company podcasts. And occasionally I do a show over at podcasthelpdesk.com. So everybody have a good however long it is. Thanks, Sean, for being here, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.